integration. As we know, in real variable, a definite integrals represents the limit of sum, whereas indefinite integral is regarded as a process inverse to the differentiation. While in case of complex variable, the definite integrals are the line integrals and indefinite integrals are nothing but the functions whose derivative is equal to a given analytic function in a region, right? So we know very well what is meant by analytic functions and the line integrals. This we have discussed in our previous video lecture. If you wish, you can go to those video lecture. You may find its link in the comment description box. Now, in case of real variable, say the real variable is f of x, right? So the path of integration, integral a to b of f of x dx, right? The path of this integration is always along the real axis, x-axis, real axis, that is from x is equal to a to x is equal to b, right? Whereas in case of complex variable, the path of definite integral, that is integral from a to b of f of z dz, where obviously z is a this f of z is a function of complex variable, right? So this may be along any curve joining the path z equal to a to z equal to b. So I hope this concept of complex integration is clear to you all. Now we need some important definitions. So let us see this one by one. So the first definition which we need is nothing but simple curve. Now what is meant by a simple curve? Right? So a continuous arc without multiple points. Continuous arc without multiple points is called a simple curve. Say for example, this is continuous arc without a simple multiple points. This is nothing but a simple curve. Right? Now, what is meant by a closed curve? So for a closed curve, a curve must be a first of all, curve must be a simple curve, and its initial and terminal points should be same or it coincides, right? That is called as a closed curve. The very famous example is of the circle, right? Or shape of this type. All these are nothing but a closed curve. Why? Because wherever I am starting at the same point, I have to end this curve, right? So this is nothing but a closed curve, right? So remember, initial and terminal point both are same, then it is said to be a closed curve. Now, then what is meant by a simple closed curve? What is meant by a simple closed curve, right? So first of all, it has to be a closed curve, means its initial and terminal point must be same. And when it is said to be simple closed curve, when it will not intersect itself anywhere, right? Any closed curve which will not intersect itself anywhere, it is called as a simple closed curve. The best example is this one. You can see here, this curve does not intersect itself at any point, right? So this is nothing but a simple closed curve. Whereas if I will take another example, say this one, right? So what we find here, so this is a closed curve, but it intersects itself at this point. So this is nothing but a not simple closed curve, right? Another example I can take like this. Right? So what we find, that this is a closed curve, right? But it intersects itself at these 2 points, right? So that's why this is not a simple closed curve. Whereas circle, then ellipse, all these are nothing but a simple closed curve because they have the same initial and terminal point, as well as they does not intersect itself at any moment, right? So I hope this concept of simple closed curve is clear to you all. Then we'll come to the next definition, that is called a positive sense. What is mean by a positive sense? So positive sense of transversing, right? Positive sense of movement means what? Positive sense of movement means, right? Positive sense of movement means the direction such that the interior domain bounded by a given closed curve remains on the left hand side of the direction of motion, right? So what is the positive sense of transversing of a contour? Is the direction such that the interior domain bounded by the given closed curve or contour remain on the left hand side of direction of motion. Say for example, if I propose this is a closed curve, right, and we want to give the direction to this. So what should be direction? That if I take it as clockwise, so what it will be? Clockwise will be this one, right? Now in this case what we find, that along the direction its interior domain lies on what? Right hand side. This is the right hand side of the traversing of the closed curve, right? But that won't be called as a positive sense. Positive sense means anti-clockwise direction. So this is an anti-clockwise direction, right? So movement is over here, right? The particle is moving over here. In this case what you find, the interior domain is this, which lies on the left hand side. So this is nothing but called as a positive sense, right? So I hope the direction of movement of any particle along a closed curve is clear to you all, right? Now the next one is simple connected domain. Now what is mean by simple connected domain? So a domain in which every closed curve can shrink to a point without passing out of the region, right? So what is mean by simple closed domain? A domain in which every closed curve can be shrink to a point without passing out of the region is called as a simple connected region. So let me take an example. If suppose I have a piece of paper, right? Piece of paper is there. If I shrink it to a point, to ball, right? So that will be nothing but called as a simple closed curve. But if suppose that paper has number of holes, right? So when I shrink it to a point, so it will leave the region. So that's why it won't be a simple connected domain, right? So in other words, what we can say? So if every simple closed curve inside D encloses only the points of D, then it is called as a simple connected domain. We can take one example on this. So we can say, suppose this is our region, right? This is our region R, and this is the closed curve with a positive sense of movement, right? So when I shrink this region to a point, obviously this domain will not get left, right? So this is nothing but called as a simple connected domain. Whereas suppose if I have this, right, with the curves, say example this one, this is domain D, this is the curve C, right? And here I am having another domain, say D1. So in order to get D1, what we'll have to do? We'll have to leave the region, So that's why this is nothing but a multiply connected region, right? So what I'll have to do in order to make it a simply connected domain, I'll have to connect this via small passage, right? Say for example, the passage of like this, then it won't leave the region and you will get a desired connected region. So in this way, a multiply connected regions can be converted to a simply connected region. So the best examples of simply connected domains are nothing but the interior of circle, rectangles, triangles, ellipse. All these are simply connected domains, right? And obviously definition of multiply connected domain means the domain which are not simply connected is called as a multiply connected domain. So I hope this definitions are clear to you all. Now I would like to mention one more definition. So that is nothing but contour, right? So contour means continuous chain of finite number of smooth arcs. Continuous chain of finite number of smooth arcs is called a contour, right? So for example, boundaries of a circle, ellipse, rectangle, triangles, all these are nothing but a contours. So although the real definite integrals are interpreted as a area, no such interpretation is possible in case of the complex definite integrals, right? So I hope all these definitions are clear to all. Now so let us begin with some of the theorems which we need in order to solve the examples. So the very first theorem is nothing but the Cauchy theorem required for the complex integrations. So what is Cauchy theorem? So what is Cauchy theorem? So if f of z is analytic function, if f of z is analytic function inside and on the boundaries of a closed curve C, then integration over C of f of z dz is equal to 0, right? So this is what the Cauchy theorem says. So what is the requirement? So Cauchy theorem is also called as a Cauchy integral theorem. The requirement is that the function must be analytic, right? Analytic, and there should not be any poles lying inside and on the boundary of a closed curve. There should not be any poles lying inside and on the boundary of a closed curve. Then integration of such functions is always 0, right? So this is what the Cauchy theorem says. So we have one more alternate statement for a Cauchy theorem. What it says, so if f of z is analytic, in a simply connected domain D, then integration of such functions is always 0 for any simple closed curve lying within the region D, right? So suppose this is the domain D, and within which we have a closed curve C enclosing the region R, right? And if there won't find any poles, means if you won't find any points at which function is non-analytic, then integration of such functions is always 0. So that is what the Cauchy theorem talks about. Now let us have the next one, that is Cauchy integral theorem or formula. Cauchy integral theorem, or it is called the Cauchy integral formula. Now what is the requirement of this? So this is used if f of z is analytic inside. So same requirements are here with only one change. So if f of z is analytic inside and on the boundary of a closed curve C, and A is any point within C, right? Then integration of C of f of z upon z minus a dz is equal to 2 pi I times f of a. This is what the Cauchy integral theorem gives us, right? So integration of f of z upon z minus a dz equal to 2 pi I times f of a. Now we have an extended form of this Cauchy integral theorem, right? That is generalized one. So let us see how to or what is the generalized form of a Cauchy integral theorem. So that is pen is not working. Generalized Cauchy integral theorem, right? So again the requirement is that function is analytic inside and on the boundary of C, and A is any point within C. A is any point within C. Then integration over C of f of z upon z minus a raised to power n plus 1, integration with respect to z, comes out to be 2 pi I upon n factorial and then nth derivative of f of z at a, right? So where obviously this f raised to n of a means this is nothing but the derivative of f of z n times and its value at z equal to a. So this is what f raised to n of a means, right? So here obviously the value of n will be 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on, right? So here this is true for all values of n starting from n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. So that's why this is called as a generalized formula. Now let us check whether we get this formula or not, right? So see here what we have, z minus a raised to n plus 1. So here what it is, z minus a. So comparing their power, what we get, n plus 1 is equal to what is the power 1, right? So n plus 1 is 1. So that's why what will be n? N is 0, right? So put n is 0 over here. So what we have, 2 pi I. On the right hand side we will put n is 0. So we get f of integration over c, f of z upon z minus a raised to power 1, that is what the left hand side of this Cauchy integral theorem, is equal to 2 pi I. N is 0. So 0 factorial. 0 factorial is 1, right? And then 0th derivative. 0th derivative means function itself and its value at z equal to a. So what we have? So 0th derivative of this function at z equal to a will be simply f of a. So in this way we get this formula. Okay, we get this formula. So that's why this is called as a generalized Cauchy integral formula, or also called as a extended Cauchy integral formula or extended Cauchy integral theorem. So by making use of Cauchy theorem and Cauchy integral formula, we will solve some of the important examples on the complex integration. So let us start with the first example. So evaluate first example. Evaluate integration over c. Obviously it is a closed curve. So we'll write round over here, right? Of z plus 1 upon z square plus 2z plus 5, where C is the circle mod of z plus 1 equal to 1. So as I mentioned here, just by looking at this equation, we can find out what is the center and what is the radius directly, right? So observe this carefully. So what we'll do, so first we will find out, or we will draw the given circle. Okay, so to draw the given circle we need a center and radius. Okay, so looking at the equation, so circle C is given by mod of z plus 1 equal to 1. Okay, so we need a center and radius. As I told you in my previous video lecture, how to write the center and radius directly by looking at the given equation. So what will be its radius? Radius is nothing but this right hand side. Okay, and what is the center? So leave this z, whatever term is left. What is left here? 1, right? So that is the real part. Why? Because I is not there. So this will be nothing but the x coordinate of the center. Okay, so what will be? So with center at, so what will be? So x coordinate of this center will be nothing but 1, and we'll assign the sign exactly opposite to this. So that is what? Minus 1. Now here imaginary part is missing, so that's why y coordinate will be 0. Like this, just by looking at the equation we can write directly what is the center of the circle. So this is the real part, other than z the remaining is nothing but real part. So that will be x coordinate, just assign sign exactly opposite to this. So we have minus 1, no imaginary part is here, it means y coordinate is 0 and radius is right hand side. So what is right hand side? 1. So that's why radius is at 1. So I hope this step is clear, right? C is a circle with center at minus 1, 0 and radius 1. So let us draw the circle right? With center at -1 0. -1 0 means it will be on negative x-axis. Let us take this as point -1. Obviously its coordinates will be -1 0. So here our center lies. Okay. Now and radius is 1. So take the, as it is on x-axis, so we will measure 1 unit on left hand side and 1 unit on right hand side. Remember, when it is measured on the left hand side, right, then we will subtract this radius from this coordinate. So what it is, -1 -1. So that's why what will be coordinates of this? It is -2 0. Okay. So when we will measure the radius on the left hand side, we will subtract the unit equal to the radius, right, from this point, right? So -1 -1. So it will be -2 0. And when it goes on the right hand side, so we'll add that much unit, right? So we'll add +1 to this x coordinate. So -1 +1, what it becomes? It becomes 0. So it is 0 0, right? So the 2 points required to draw the circle. So I have identified the 2 points. Okay. So let us draw the circle passing through these 2 points. Right. So in this way we get the circle. Obviously its sense will be a positive sense. So it will be anti-clockwise. Right. Now, so the first task is done. That is to draw the circle, right? Now second step is to find out the poles. Now how to find out the poles? So poles are given by equating denominator of this integrand to 0. Now what is the denominator of this integrand? That is z square plus 2z plus 5. Okay, so poles are given by z square plus 2z plus 5 equal to 0. Now this is a quadratic equation, so you will get two values for z. Find out these two values by any way, any means that you know, right? Either you can make use of Kelsey or you can make use of the formula -b plus minus under root of b square minus 4ac upon 2a. So in this way we will get the value of z as, it will be -1 plus -2i. So the points are, z is, if I write it in the form of coordinates, so points are -1 2 and another is -1 -2. So let us plot these points on this axis, right, coordinate plane. So what it will be, -1 x coordinate and y coordinate is 2, right? So we will measure, so this much distance is nothing but 1, exactly same distance below, and at the same distance above you will have. So what will be coordinate of this point? So this is nothing but a pole, so we denote it by dot with a circle, right? So this is nothing but z equal to -1 plus -1 -2i. So here we have the point 0 -2 on y-axis, and at the same distance above it will be z equal to -1 plus 2i. So this is our pole. So this has a coordinate 0, 2. Like this we have identified the poles. So very easy way to find out the poles, that is just equate denominator to 0. Okay, denominator of integrand, right, to 0. So we get this poles. Now what we find? Observe their locations. Once we get a poles and when we plot them on the coordinate plane, then what is the next task is to see their location, where it lies, right? So here it lies on below, outside the circle, right, outside the circle. So as per the requirement of Cauchy theorem, what it says, if there are no poles inside the circle as well as on the boundary, right, then that function is completely analytic, and integration of such function is always 0, right? So therefore as both the poles lies outside C, right, therefore f of z equal to z plus 4 upon z square plus 2z plus 5 is analytic inside and on C. right? Therefore, integration of this f of z over c is equal to 0 by Cauchy theorem. Right? Just substitute f of z, you'll get the answer. So I hope this method is clear to you all. Right? In this way, we can solve the problem based on the complex integration. So I will discuss few more important example based on this concept in the next